Right guys, so welcome along to my video today. We're going to have a look around Coventry Stadium, if we can get in and have a look, or at least fly the drone. I've just come off the pull-off road, coming into Binley Woods, so I thought I'd see if this would bring back any memories for anybody of all those drives to see the Coventry Bees. Oh, it looks very familiar. There was a big roundabout there before, and it's got like a flyover now, so that's changed slightly. But it all looks familiar coming up this way. I have done a couple of other videos of Coventry Speedway dating back to right when it first closed pretty much, maybe like a year afterwards, which you'll be able to find on my YouTube channel, the Country DJ UK, including like a lap round the track, the changing rooms and stuff when they were in good repair, and the scoreboard was all still there, and the referee's box before it got burned down. But obviously over the last, I don't know how many years it is, but it feels like a long time since I was back here actually doing anything that involves Speedway. There's been a big sort of court case going on, and action by the Save Coventry Speedway group to try and bring Speedway back to Brandon, and that's looking pretty hopeful at the minute. It's been looked at by a court and then a high court as well, and the people who bought the land have been told that they can't build houses here under any circumstances, but there's been no compulsory purchase order or anything to sell it back. What price it gets sold back at, I don't know, because obviously it's in a lot of disrepair now. But the value of the land's probably gone up. But then, if it can't be built on, then it isn't really worth that much. Coming past the old pub now, I don't know if that's having a refurbishment or if it's being, let's have a look, just there, or knocked down, I don't know. Looks like it's probably being refurbed, the Rosy Comb, I think that was called. And then we'll go past the little village shop in a second on the right hand side, which some of you may remember and used to go and get your snacks and stuff from before you went into the Speedway. So hopefully this is bringing back some memories for people. To tell you a little bit about myself, I used to ride for the Coventry Junior team, and that was way back in probably about 93, 94. That was the one stop. And after riding for the Bees when I was about 19, 20 years old, something like that, I went on to do music in the stadium, doing all the jingles and stuff with my brother Rich, and we did that for many years. First got involved with it through a meeting with Jeremy Ever, who used to have a lot to do with the stock cars. Over to the right here, this was a regular parking joint for people, and they used to come. Focus. Yep, there we go. A lot of people used to park on there, especially when there was big meetings like overseas finals and British finals, so they could get away quickly, as opposed to parking in the car park. And then where this lorry's pulling into on the left hand side, a lot of people used to park there as well. What's it called? Gossip Lane. There's a nice walk down there that takes you into a load of woods. So here we are, there's a sign for Brandon. And there is the old sign, but the old garden centre was over there. That's not much to the left there, but there's still the layout of it. And then the actual stadium itself, there's your main entrance there, which I remember with all the checkered flags and signs and stuff on the billboards. So we'll take a park up just here, and then we'll have a walk in and see what we can see. And I'll take the drone as well, in case there's any potential to. That's an old blast from the past. There you go, Speedway Lane. Another one just there. And lots of people live down this lane here to the left. including, I think, Lorraine, who used to run the track shop. I pulled back because there's a car just coming up that way. But yeah, I never used to park here or anything when we used to come as back in the day, but park up here today, and there we get Speedway Lane. So that's that fence over there, where the main gates to go in was all boarded up. We'll go in this way underneath this wooden fence. Been in this town a few times in the past, and there's the old stadium. Now when I came as a kid, most of this was sort of like roads. It wasn't all covered over with grass like this. They used to pull along the roads and pull onto the grass to park. I don't remember ever getting stuck or anything in wet weather, but as you can see now, it's quite, they must have put hardcore down at some point over the years, and then I'm guessing the grass has just all grown back as it's come back to nature. So have a quick scan round. The houses here, I always thought as a kid, wouldn't it be lovely to live in one of these houses that backed onto Coventry Speedway? These shoes aren't as waterproof as I was anticipating, which is awkward as I'm going to be in them all day. So let's see where we can walk, which isn't too wet. Actually, we're nipping into Coventry for trainers and socks for the rest of the day. Right, so we're coming towards the main drive-in here, which is the way in that we used to come, and then you'd pull in and be straight down towards the stadium. Hope you weren't looking at the sky for a long time then. Wasn't really concentrating, I was looking more at the floor at where I'm walking. So I was brought here probably within the first year of being born by my dad and my mum. He was a big Stoke City fan, so I was taken to Stoke City I think the day after I was born for a photo outside, and then we came all the way through my life to Coventry Speedway as fans, and as I said, I later went on to ride when I was about 19 years old, and then do the music in the stadium, and I went on for a while to be the centre green presenter as well, starting off by doing the National League team called the Coventry Storm, and progressing on to do it with Yorkie for the main meetings. And when I used to come as a kid, we used to pull up down here and take a left to the corner there, and we used to park up over there just off the road, because it was a road then, not all hardcore or grassed over, so it was a quick, easy route out of the car park at the end of the night. Yeah, thinking about it now, maybe living on the back of the Speedway stadium wasn't as great as I thought as a kid, now that I'm at home earning myself. But there you go. So that's the outside of the stadium. We'll have a quick walk up to the gates here. When I've been a few times before, it has been quite easy to get inside the stadium. There's usually been holes and stuff, but it might be that we can't get in today. If so, I'll do a voiceover on the drone video. But something I wanted to remind people of is down this bottom corner, there used to be a little walk through
to a very tiny little track that we discovered. So when I was perhaps 7 or 8 years old, I used to chuck my bike in the back of my dad's car and we used to ride round it before the meetings. Not inside the stadium, just outside in that bottom corner. It's not there anymore, it wasn't there when I was in my teens, I don't think. But yeah, the main structure of the stadium, apart from, obviously I know they've had gypsies in and stuff over the time it's been closed, and travellers who've been in and stolen stuff and set fires and things like that. So you can see just to the left there, just to the right of where that ivy or something's growing up, you can see some holes in the roof and some holes at the back of the grandstand there where it's been on fire. And you could see the referee's box on top before, but that got burnt down a few years ago. And similar, I think there was a fire down the bottom end of the stadium there, just about to see the top of the roof in the corner where the VIP boxes were and stuff. And that has been torched as well at some point. So this is the way we used to come in when I was a nipper, and it'd be round about here up until the age of probably 16. And my dad would say, right, let me pick you up, because the child price was different to a teenager's price at the time, when you used to get a very small little stubby ticket, and he used to carry me in and then take me up to the bar and buy me a beer. So it didn't quite make sense, but it did save him some pennies. So this is the old turnstile block, and when the stadium was first closed down, I think this is one of the first areas that got set fire to. But this would have been one of the turnstiles behind this grid here. And as we go round, we'll keep an eye out for the fencing and stuff, and if there's any potential ways in, but it looks pretty secure so far. And then these gates were never really open, but you could park behind there if you had access into the stadium. Let's see if we can see anything. It's a bit out of focus. See if it focuses there. No, forgetting, we'll have a look. See a little bit there. I'll pop my hand through and stop the video, pop my hand through and start it up again. There we go, that gives you an idea. So somewhere to the left here is the back of the old turnstiles. And then over here where that blue and white fencing is in the middle of the screen now is where you start to walk through a tunnel. Straight out to literally pretty much just crossing the start line. And then to the right here, I don't really remember much. I don't think it's a program maybe from the turnstiles when we used to run through the way back in the day in the 80s. A bit more if I manage to get in. And then from memory, this is where all the motorbikes and stuff used to park back in the day, in this section. If you broke home on a motorbike, and there were quite a lot of people who came on bikes to the Speedway, although Speedway is not a particularly sport where lots of motorbikers come to it. Coventry seemed to get quite a few. Right. And then these are the hangars where they used to keep stuff behind the main grandstand. And when we used to do the music and stuff in the stadium, we used to leave all our speakers and stuff in the hangars and then just pull them out each every couple of weeks to use. But yeah, it's all pretty locked up. And then when the turnstiles weren't used, perhaps the late 90s, 2000s, this was the main way into the stadium, where the turnstiles were inside run by the Quartermans, who I knew very well and used to sit behind us in the bar, because we used to start off doing the music in the referee's box, but it got kind of busy in there, so we moved down into the top bar in the middle by the tapes towards the end of working at the stadium, and used to do all the stuff from there. Can't really see much through there, but that's the pit gate as such. So this is what we call the pit gate. So this is where you used to go in to the stadium if you were a rider. So often as not, they'd be queuing up here on this thing to go in, and then there was a really official bloke who used to stand on the gate, and if you weren't riding that night, you did well to get past him. And even if you were, at one point I think, if you were riding in the second half, it was park outside here until the meeting was virtually done, and then he'd let you in. So it was very, very strict. I don't think there's going to be much to see down here. There's another gate. I don't really remember ever using this gate. Maybe it's the way the riders used to, no, the riders used to go out through that same entrance gate at the end of the night, so I don't know what this gate's for. But I know there's some garages and stuff, or there were garages in the back of here, that people like Bomber used to use when he was riding for Coventry. But yeah, I don't think there's much to see here. And the big set of gates, so maybe they used to bring certain stuff in and out of here. And this is like more like the old roads that used to be in the stadium. And as you can see, you can't really see much through there. Where's my camera? It's just there. No, there's two. We'll get that with the drone. If there's any bigger gaps. Not really, unless maybe through there. See a little bit. See the back of the pit there where all the graffiti is on the left. But yeah. And this is the lane that I said where there's all houses and stuff, so this is where all the residents who ring up the police and stuff and complain when there's been fires and stuff in the past. So yeah, quite a long lane with lots of houses on it, mainly bungalows down there, and that takes you back up to the main road where I've parked up. So, I'd say it's probably unlikely we're going to get in today because everything seems to be very secure. I know one of the things put in place by the courts when it went to court, the High Courts most recently, that was televised on YouTube from Rugby Council. I think you probably still watch those back. Was that they had to keep it in secure and better repair, otherwise they'd be fined. What's the big fine? I think they had one actually, and then I assume they probably paid it. But yeah, that's some of the stuff that went on with the court case. Like I say, you can watch that back on YouTube. But the iconic Coventry Stadium sort of paint on the hangers there is still on there. And when I popped it into my sat nav today, not that I'd forgotten the way, but in case there's any traffic, I popped it in and it still came up on a sort of sat nav search for Coventry Stadium. It still exists as a place. See if I can get a bit of what it says on this notice sign here. Necessary to abandon the meeting before the completion of heat turn. You'll get admission to a future meeting this season or next season. It's an oldie but a goldie. Whatever was on that one's gone. Speedway Bees, yes we can. Yeah, Bill Base was a massive sponsor here, and sadly Big John from Bill Base, who had a lot to do with the sponsorship, passed away, I think it was this year. So that was sad. And Tang Tools, who also had a huge amount to do with Coventry Speedway. Their owner was killed tragically at a stock car meeting a good number of years ago now. That was Colin North, and Tang Tools were a massive sponsor here at Coventry as well. So I will carry on round, because in the past there has been some gaps in this fence, but the last time I came I don't remember the metal sheeting that's on the inside of the fence being there, so I'm guessing that's been secured. I think one time when I came, went in through that little square there, that was open, but we'll push on round and have a look. I've never been around the very back of the stadium, because there's a road that takes you within the stadium round the entire circuit, but I've never been in it to have a look. I've been round there to see if there's access. I've always found a way in here before. There's a concrete building to the right. Wasn't there when I was a kid, I don't think, but it's where they kept the greyhounds and stuff for the greyhound racing meetings. If you check on YouTube, there's lots of videos of people who've been in here, had a look round, and there's loads of like injection syringes and bottles and stuff in there. Don't know what they were for, but something to do with the dog racing. Carry on round a little bit further. So this is in the region now of where I used to go on that little track that I mentioned. It's loose there, maybe, for the amount of twigs and stuff that are about. As they were trying to cover up that you can get in here. I think I have in the past been in here as well, but again, nothing obvious, nothing looks loose. And yeah, you can see vaguely the road here that you used to drive down to exit the stadium if you're parking up. It looks like a path now, how overgrown it is. And then just past that lighting stand is where we used to park, reverse on and drive straight off. And during one of the Grand Prix that they held here at Coventry in the 2000s at some point, because it was one of the places where they used to hold the Speedway Grand Prix, the Polish fans who were disgruntled at something, and they set fire to a load of coaches there. I remember that well. I also remember Thomas Gollum going on the track at one point and some fan throwing a bottle at him and it hit him on his helmet. But we won't talk anymore about that. So the only thing I can think of with all these things piled against the fence are some people have perhaps used them as ways of getting in. Maybe. Caught that on there. There we go, we're back. Spin it round. There we go. So, nothing. Again, obvious hole for us to get in. Yeah, everywhere is pretty secure. They've put some fencing up there on the inside to avoid people getting in again. So maybe Brandon Estates, who own it currently, have taken it seriously in relation to sorting it out. There obviously was a hole here at some point, but it's all screwed in, so that's not a way in either now. Just about to see the back straight board there. You can see the end of the grandstand there, the main grandstand. where we used to stand on that corner. There used to be a set of steps to take you up to the bar. And there was an old lady called Audrey, who was lovely, who used to look after you in the bar there, which later turned into a restaurant years later. That part wasn't a bar any longer. Right, we'll push on round and just keep going. But it looks like I'm going to have to do some voiceover on the drone, and because the drone doesn't record sound, I can pop some sound in and explain what we're seeing as it goes around. But this looks very, I've never been this far down, but it's getting a bit overgrown and rickety, so I think I'll go to the end here and then give up. Yeah, it's looking highly unlikely that we'll get in. So yeah, they've done a good job of securing it all. I'll just try to this corner and see if there's anything obvious, but if not, call it a day and get the drone up. Never been here before. Slight gap there, but I don't know if that's going to be big enough to get in. Possibly. I'll turn the camera off and give it a whirl. No, I've given up on that. There was a hole here, which if you had a spanner you could probably take this thing off, but I can't quite fit through that gap. So there we go. We'll go back to the front of the stadium and I will hopefully be able to record some audio while I send the drone up and point out a few bits and bobs. And if you want to see things like the changing rooms when they were in good repair, and also what else did I do? I did a lap of the track, went up in the top bar when they used to have like these motion activated sensors up there that said please get out of the stadium, security officers are on the way. I can pop the links at the bottom of this video for those, because I'm not sure you'd see much more inside if it's going to be all secure, and I can drop the drone down nice and low in the pits and stuff so we can see everything, but you won't get into anywhere in the stadium or the, on the previous videos I've got into stuff like the toilets and in the grandstand, up in the referee's box, in the changing rooms, like I said, in the track shop, in the NSCC hut, and the little hatch where Tommy Knudsen used to have his fan club, where you could go and buy bits and bobs and stuff. But unfortunately, or fortunately as it works out, from the point of view of the campaign and stuff, the stadium's nice and secure now, so they obviously have put a lot more effort into making sure that happens. And just about see the grandstand there and the steps that used to take you up to the top bar. I remember that it used to have pink and orange and all kinds of coloured different lights in there when I was a kid. Used to sit just in the main bar on the left hand side as you went in. Used to have those old fashioned red tables that you used to have in working men's clubs and stuff like that. I can't remember what you used to lean on if you were sat by the window. I guess at that time just like a wooden side section or something that went all the way along with chairs in front of it and chairs and tables a little further back. But yeah, when I came as a kid, that was the main section that we used to use, and then stand on the top of the fourth bend and then run into the tapes to watch the meeting. They used to pop up for a drink in the interval as well. And right in front of us, there was a gantry that led down over the dog track and onto it, kind of thing, that a lot of kids used to play on. But my dad always used to say, you're here to watch the Speedway. You're not going and playing with idiots on there. But I'm pretty sure Martin Coleman, who might watch this, I'm sure I saw him on there in his Coventry City Peugeot sponsored football shirts at times. Maybe so. So yeah, we're going to switch to drone now and see how that goes.
Hopefully you've enjoyed the video up to now. You'll notice in the background I've been playing some songs from the 80s. During the 80s I would have been between 6 and 16. So those are some of the tracks I remember from way back then. But during the next part of the video, this is all the footage that we've got on the drone. So it's there's no sound on the drone recording. So I'll try and put some music in from some of the jingles and stuff that we used to play during the meetings and see if you can spot those and see if you work out what they are. And also I'll try and point out some bits and bobs as we see them, and perhaps overlay some videos from some of the past ones so you can see how the stadium's changed and some of the things that were in situ before, all the different fires and stuff, and before the damage that's been done now. So carry on enjoying the video. So what we've got here is a view of the back straight, and you can just about make out the one remaining floodlight system that's in the centre of the track there. All the other floodlights were taken out by Mr. Sandhu when he closed the stadium, along with all the seating in the grandstand area, which really made fans think this is a bad sign. This is Speedway's not coming back here for this kind of stuff to have happened and for him to have removed all the seats and stuff. And then the area there to the middle of the screen coming up is the end of the terracing, where I pretty much stood all the way through my teens. The bushes and stuff there that have grown onto the terracing are absolutely massive. And then coming into shot there is the referee's box, which we'll insert some footage of what it used to look like when it was back in good repair, just after the stadium closed. But as you can see, that's been set fire to, and you can see all the way through to the floor. The floor's almost dropped out of it. So it's in a really bad state. Well, you can see a massive gap there going through to like the floor of the bar area. So the floor's fallen through and everything. And it had a big roof on it before, so you could see it from the back of the stadium and the car park and stuff. So that's completely gone. You'll notice all the seating, Mr. Sandhu had all that removed as soon as the stadium was closed off the terrace, and so it looks like it's just like steps or levels. But yeah, there was all seating in there. And then that's where I think the last fire was, going towards the end of the stadium, where the VIP boxes were. Drone's going a little bit lower here, so I was wary of losing my signal here as I'm sort of going along this sort of area of the track. As you can see, the Armco is still there where the air fence used to be fitted to it. As we go round towards the first bend, scoreboard just going out of view there on the right hand side. And towards the end of the meetings being held at Coventry, that's where the riders used to come on the track there. So they used to come out of the pits, turn right and come onto the track there. Going down the back straight now, one of my memories there, when I was in my 20s, used to stand on the back straight right in the middle. Used to be the Elliott's Car Care sign, a red sign with white ELLIOTS for Elliott's, which was one of Tommy Hudson's big sponsors. And that was one of the big prominent signs on the back. I remember Bullman's was also on there, and I think there was a Coventry Evening Telegraph one. You can see the build base one and stuff there on it now. And again, just look at the amount of trees and bushes and stuff that have growing out of the concrete. Fascinated to sort of know what would have kept that from happening when the stadium was open, whether it was just footfall or whether maintenance went round all the time, keeping them down. And then the other side of the Armco there, in between the Armco and the white fence at the bottom, is where the dock track used to be. Centre green was all tarmacked. It was grass during the 80s and stuff, and there was a go-kart track on it at one point. You can see the lines of it. We're heading back now towards the second bend. So this is where the riders used to go onto the track, just there. And the tractors and stuff used to come onto the track there as well to do the grading in between the heats. And from memory, Norm, who used to work in the box, had a lot to do with either supplying the tractors or organising them to be delivered to the stadium or something. Size Express, I think that was Rod Simpson possibly. I think that was his company. He was a big sponsor of Rory Schlein. And he was one of the guys who was a sponsor for various riders, including Sean Tacey when he used to ride for Coventry Bees. So as you look back now down towards the third and fourth bends, so the fourth bend's where I used to stand, where I said that gantry was that used to run down to the track. I think they probably brought the dogs on there. But as you look out, as we go higher now with the drone, you can really see how it was in the middle of woods. No wonder there's bushes and stuff going through the terracing. It's a vast area of countryside, which is probably why they didn't get so many noise complaints and stuff. You can see the two hangars there. Bits missing of the roof on the one to the right. And going through on the drone now, through the entrance that wasn't really used behind the turnstiles, the turnstile block. The turnstile block that's still there is, I'm not sure if it was the one that was actually used for the stadium. I think the one that burnt down was a little bit more to the left of it. And this was one that was on the sort of, to the right, there was a square in between the two. So I'm not sure if these were actually used for Speedway or not. But that's the back of them where you would have come through if they were. And those are the gates that lead out of the car park. Like I say, I think if they had like the fire engines in or maybe ambulances going out, sometimes they open those gates, but they weren't anything that I remember being used in a big capacity when I was working in the stadium. And the little hut there, whether it was for programmes or something like that, that's the only thing I can think it might possibly have been for. I don't really remember it. And then directly in front, where that blue and white and pale blue gap is, that wasn't there, that's just been put in to stop people going through. Not sure why it's painted fancy colours. But that was just a walkthrough that taught you through to where the tapes were and into the grandstand area. And then where this white panel is here on the right hand side was the steps that led up to the back of the home straight. There was a snack bar up there during the 80s that you could go to and buy bits and bobs, hot food. Not the one that we're looking at now currently, that's the one that I said that led through to the track opposite the start line. But the one we're moving on to now is where the steps, there was a yellow handrail in the middle. As you walked up there, there were some gents' toilets just to the right, at the top, ladies on the left, and you walked along this tunnel with snap bars on the left hand side, and you came out into the daylight and you were at the top of the fourth bend. As I say, that's where we tended to stand during my childhood. Again, on some of the older videos, which I might be able to insert here, you'll see these steps. I think we just walked up them. And as you pan down there, that's the block there where they used to keep, or something to do with the greyhounds, but I don't remember it being there earlier on. It looks like it's breeze block and it's been built maybe in the 90s or something, moving onwards. All around the back of the stadium here, where this grass is, when they had big stock car meetings on, the trucks and stuff for the stock cars would be all the way around the stadium. And some of the big riders, like, I think there was a guy called Frankie Wayman Jr. and a rider ironically called Andy Smith. There was an Andy Smith who rode for Coventry, but a Formula One stocks driver called Andy Smith as well. And they had huge tour buses, really fancy stuff, a bit like Andrews Johnson and stuff had when he was riding in the Grand Prix. Those are the steps which lead you up to the fourth bend area, and then you can see a little bit of a gantry at the top. There's some steps that used to lead down from there that were green, that used to take you into that top bar. Later on in the 90s or the 2000s, that became the restaurant area, so the bar was more towards the middle of the stadium. But when I used to go as a child, I used to go up those steps and virtually stand at the bottom of it, and going up to the top bar there, that's the silver door there that used to lead you into that bar. So this, again, is the home straight. I mean, that's not grown through there, that bush. That's like a full-on thing going on there, that is. Just past this little blue fence panel at the end was the steps that led up to the grandstand area, and the little door there is where the start line girls used to get ready for the meeting. And there's a couple of sets of steps there that led up to the grandstand area, which, as I mentioned before, was all seated up at the top there, but they were all removed. That's why it just all looked like concrete. And then just underneath the referee's box, there was two doors at the top there, and that's where we sort of went into the top bar area. It looked, from what I can see, as though all the windows and stuff are fence panelled off now or plasterboarded up, but they all got smashed. It was all double glazed, but that was all smashed. All the bars were smashed inside, and fires set, and cash machines broken into, piping, electrical wires and stuff ripped out of the ceilings. And then this is where the fire happened more recently, I believe, at the bottom end of the stadium, where the officers were upstairs, the VIP boxes were there and stuff like that. We actually installed a Wi-Fi router in one of the VIP boxes so we could use an iPad to use the music and walk around the stadium, operate the iPad, and just leave the laptop somewhere so we could watch the meeting whilst it was going on as well. And then just at the front here is where Dave Rowe used to stand when he was doing the commentary for all the videos and stuff, at the front of the pits here. And obviously the pits now, I'll put some old videos over the top here, but there's really not much left of them. And the scoreboard, I can't remember the name of the guy who used to work in the referee's box, but he had a big beard. Great big chap, you wouldn't have messed with him. And he used to operate the scoreboard. There was like a box up there with roller dials on it with numbers, and the various dials used to operate the score and change the score on the scoreboard. Not sure what happened there with the video. It seemed to drop down to the ground. And that was made these scores change on the board here. Again, I'll hopefully drop a video in here so you can see what the scoreboard looked like when it wasn't in too bad a repair on our first visit. I imagine it started off as a scoreboard with somebody in it, possibly. Do you look at the size of it, with like a little window, and they used to do the scores manually, a bit like a cricket scoreboard. But certainly in the 2000s and stuff, it was a lot more advanced, if you can call it that. So I think we're going to go on a run from memory down the stadium here. You can see the graffiti and what damage is in place. Obviously we did this walk a little bit earlier as well. There's the motorbike section again. And the hangar's just coming up. And the signage, if you look back on old photos and stuff of the stadium, didn't change ever. I think that dates back to sort of like the 50s, the way that that's written on there, and it would have been over painted time and time again. But the Coventry Stadium, how it's sort of built like that on the big old hangars, is sort of notorious in the area. That's how it has always been. And again, we're panning down there now to the gate where the riders used to come in their vans and go into the stadium. And directly in front of us is the offices, where you would go into the offices. I used to go in to see a lady called Sheila. For a while, the offices were downstairs. Sandu and Jeremy Heaver and people like that had an office downstairs, and Colin Pratt, and then everybody seemed to move upstairs at one point. But this is the way that you drive in, and then you take a turn to the right through the, I think it's called Speed Square, where the track shop is, and then you park behind the pits area if you were granted permission to go into the stadium. And just to the left, where that white piece of panelling is down, is where the Nuneaton Speedway Supporters Club had a little room as such. And then the opposite side of it, there's like a hole and a flap that comes up, and that's where Tommy used to have his fan club. You could go and buy merch and stuff. The massive gap there in the top floor, where you can see the red panel and the door, is the door that led into one of the VIP boxes, but the side of the building there has sort of completely come off. There weren't windows or anything. I think it was a solid panel as such, but obviously the fire must have been so strong that something there has been pulled off the side of the building. And as you can see, you could also come out from a little door there, that blue door, led you down those stairs onto the viewing area above the pits. And then these buildings to the right hand side. If you were in the second half, sometimes, or if there was a big meeting, they extended the pits just there, almost all the way to the side here. And then this building to the left was for the first aid room, which again, I think we've got some footage on some of the previous videos. As I said earlier on, we'll link the other videos in the comment section, so you can pop onto YouTube if you're seeing this on Facebook, and see some of the stuff when it was in a bit better repair. I believe that's the garage there that Bomber used to use when he rode for Coventry, to tinker with his bikes and stuff. And then there's the track shop coming up into view. In fact, I think it's a little bit further up, just past that building. Yeah, just there, where it sort of indents to the left. And that's the area that they called Speed Square. That's the first aid block to the right there with the flat red roof. And then there's a massive area there of the away pits that is missing and the fencing, where that sort of pastely blue going to dark blue end is. There was a solid wall all the way along there, and you went in through a gate into the pits. And Des Quinney, for many, many years, was the person on the gate with his flat cap, and he used to give you entrance to the pits if you were riding in the second half, or if you were a rider going in, and you'd sign in there and you'd sign your mechanics in and such like. And you can actually see there were some steps there that led up onto that gantry that's sort of a pole across it. So from memory there were metal steps, so what's happened to them I really don't know. But you basically went up the steps and then you could see over the top of the away pits, you could see the home pits on the opposite side, and you'd go the opposite side up another set of steps just onto the terracing if you wanted to look into the away pits. So that is pretty much underneath there, the entrance into the changing rooms, which you used to have to walk around the back of the pits to get to, but it's all on show there now. What happened to the metal steps, I've no idea. And where those yellow lines are on the floor would be where the away pits were, and that's where they'd be marked out. So you'd have the seven bays as such for the away team. So as we're flying in, this would be where the entrance to the pits would be as such. Looks like that's some of the roofing and stuff that's been pulled across from the other side. So where that blue wall is before it stops would have come all the way along before, and then that silver panel would be the door into the changing rooms, but that would have been, like I say, you'd walk to the right there and turn back on yourself to go into those changing rooms. And when you went in, it was the away changing rooms first, and then you had to go through another door into the Coventry changing rooms, and then at the very bottom there was the showers and stuff. So that is the iconic Coventry Bees pits. So Bees were still the sponsors when the stadium closed, and there's some various artwork on there, some of Bomber. When I used to ride in the second half, so I used to be in this corner right at the very bottom there. Myself and Paul Goodwin, Darren Andrews, Paul Clues. We used to be able to bring our bikes in at some point during the meeting and put them at that end of the pits. And then as we move forward here to the left-hand side, that's where the foam was to ring the referee, where that little blue box is. And there used to be a door on there and 3 or 4 different members of the press, I think, and people like that. There's a glass on there as well, like glass windows. And they used to go in there, I think. And there was various TVs and stuff in. Up on the walls and stuff from towards the track. Looking up there now towards the VIP boxes as well, and those are those steps I said that led down onto the gantry. So that must have been quite a fire there to do all the damage it did. And that's looking back towards where the away pits was. And like I say, that would have been that corridor that led you down towards those changing rooms. And the Coventry Bees home pits there. And at the very end would have been where the number 1 would have been. So people like Hans Nielsen, Tommy Knudsen, Greg Hancock, they'd have been in that end bay. And then the riders would quite often just come round this corner, and that's where they'd stand to watch the meeting. So just here, if the camera pans round just to the right, there'd be a little gap in the fence, and the riders had just popped through there, and there was just a little section that was sectioned off where the fans couldn't get in, but they could stand and watch the meeting. think I was being wary at this minute of how close I was to this tree because I was flying quite low. Yeah, there's the gap where that sink or whatever it is on the floor. And the riders used to go just onto the terrace in there. And there was another fence that sort of encased them in. So it was private from the fans, but fans could sort of liaise and talk to people when they're in there. And then this was the run that took you down to the track. So the riders would get pushed off in the pits, and then they'd ride down this piece of tarmac to where you can see that white section. Often it's not if they were coming back in from a race. Obviously they came back in the same way, and kids would like lean over the fence and put their hands out so the riders could sort of tag them as they went past to celebrate winning a race or whatever. So they had to go past fans away. A lot of the away fans used to stand on this section here. That's mainly where away fans used to come and stand on this second bend at Coventry. So they'd come down here and then take a left here onto the track. To get into that terrace in there, you had to go down the back of the stadium, or from either end, from the fourth bend walking backwards, or from the second bend there, you could walk where the tractor sort of came on. And then this is the dog track, and then you'd be over the dog track and then onto the Speedway track just there. Just looking to see if there's any sign of the curbing. They used to have like a red, blue and white curbing. You can just about make out and see it, I think. And you can make out a few lines there on the centre green as well from where the go-kart track was. So this is coming in from the first and second bend towards the stadium. And again, it just gives you an idea of the vastness of countryside and stuff around it. Quite a few houses there on the back straight as well, which I'm not sure how you get to. Maybe off either that Gossett Road or Gossett Lane, whichever it was, or Speedway Lane, and turn back onto it. But until I've taken the drone up over the last sort of 7 or 8 years on my various visits to the stadium, I hadn't really got a clue there was any houses out there. And as you can see, probably the reason why there were such many big meetings at Coventry was the capacity, and also that parking. There was a huge amount of parking there. That's the back straight coming into view there, so you can see what's going on housing wise. So we're quite high up there, so to give you an idea of the landscape and what's around the area. So as you can see, there is quite a lot of the stadium still left, although the grandstand area is the area of concern where they think a lot of work is going to have to be done if it's not demolished full stop, due to the amount of fires and stuff that have been in that area. But the thought by people looking at reopening the Speedway is that you could probably just use the back straight for kicking off and opening again, and then try and make it into some kind of multi-use stadium by rebuilding stuff. And there's investors in place to put the money into making the stadium decent and stuff again. but it is still owned by Brandon Estates currently, but they can't do anything at all with it because they've got no planning permission to do what they wanted to, which was put housing on it. So I've popped a few jingles and stuff on as we've been going through. I'll pop the names on of who they were for.
So we didn't manage to get in, so that's it for Coventry Speedway. I don't think it's worth another visit until it potentially opens again, as you can't really get in. And it's tricky. I've got a 249 DJI Mavic Mini, that's the drone that I'm using today. And it's not got sensors all around, so I was zooming in places, but I've not used it for a while, so if the footage wasn't great, I apologise, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of what kind of state the stadium's in. I'll go over the footage of the drone and see if I can put some words of wisdom into it as well. But the old girl's still here. Amazing to see, and this is the kind of stuff that's just growing in the track and stuff as well, because obviously it used to be woodlands and stuff, Bentley Woods, and just trees and stuff growing out the terracing and out of the track and anywhere and everywhere really. But I'm trying to think how many times I've potentially been here, and it's got to be in the, well, maybe not thousands, but certainly in the hundreds, more than 100 in the years with 20 odd matches a season since the year I was born up until being around about 20 when I was riding, and then afterwards every single meeting doing all the entertainment in the stadium and the discos in the bar, centre green, music, that type of stuff. So it's been nice to have a look around. I'm going to take this road out because my feet have just about dried out. I've probably been here a good hour. I think the thoughts with the stadium at the minute is, I know there's lots of volunteers who have said they will be quite happy to assist with putting it back straight, painting, putting in windows, tradespeople, that kind of stuff, for everything, and everything smashed up. The toilets inside, obviously all the fire damage and stuff. I think there's a concern that they can't even use the main grandstand at all, and it'll probably need to be demolished, but the back straight where there is a concrete grandstand and stuff, and nothing to have been set fire to, although the snap bars are trashed over there and the bathrooms and stuff. There's not much that can have gone wrong with the concrete, apart from obviously the trees and stuff grown out of stuff. It'd be interesting to know if that was just kept down by people walking over it when the stadium was open, or whether it was, you know, maintenance wise, somebody went round all the time keeping stuff like that from growing through. But yeah, here are the houses on the little street. I think it was Gossett Road. Like I say, mainly bungalows, but it goes down a long way. A bit drier on the old feet walking down this way. Back to the car. But hopefully you enjoyed that a little glimpse as to what Coventry Speedway looks like now. Like I say, December 2024. Somebody will probably post in the comments how many years it is till the stadium closed. And like I say, for a good year or so it was fine, but then I think Brandon Estates let people, encouraged or even perhaps potentially paid people to come in and cause problems, with the hope that they get their planning permission to build houses and stuff. But that's just a an idea of mine. That's not something that's like known or is fact. So, keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully one day we'll be back here for all the Bees fans who are watching, and have yourselves a lovely Christmas and a Happy New Year. Cheers guys, all the best.